What's going on, brothers and sisters? Hope you're doing well. Get ready to get started here momentarily. About 30 seconds. Just allow some time for the notification to go out. If you can, please share the link. Truly appreciate it. Once again, for anybody coming in, hopefully you're doing well. We'll get started here momentarily. If you can, please share the link. We get started momentarily. Appreciate it. Before we get going in today's discussion, I'll open up prayer first. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Yahweh, we thank you for today. Thank you for your strength to sustain our natural lives as well as our spiritual life, giving us everything that we need to live godly lives in Christ, proving that we're truly children of yours while here on earth. So, Lord, as we set aside this time to hear you reading of your word, pray you open up the hearts, minds, and ears of brothers and sisters, that any confusion or blindness may flee from them, and that they may see clearly and understand rightly, and stay away from the deception of the evil one that has many natural brothers and sisters of the same race deceived. Let's pray that by your mercy, you enlighten them to the knowledge of Christ truly, and that they will rightly understand these things in which the prophets have foretold. And I pray these things in your son, Yeshua of Nazareth's name. Amen. What's going on, brothers and sisters? Hope y'all doing well. If it's your first time joining, Pastor Jay, I wanted to come here and talk with y'all a little bit. About conversation I had a little earlier, maybe about an hour and a half ago. I have to unbutton this top button here so this thing can sit right. And just a quick second, y'all. All right. Discussion I had about an hour and a half ago, probably, if that long. And the way it started, y'all know the regular conversations that people have is, what's going on, 7th from Adam? Peace. Read your mind. What's going on, my bro? The rest of the brothers and sisters, man, are listening. Those who comment or listen later on. Definitely pray you be edified by today's discussion. Definitely listen intently, man. This is crazy, man. You know, I used to obviously, for those who know my background, knowing I came, formerly out of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. I used to think the same way, man. But man, the Lord's removed me so far away from that blindness of heart and mind. They wouldn't think so. They'd think I went into blindness. But the Lord is removed me so far from that blindness, man. And I thank him for that. The normal cliche thing that happens because of evils that's taking place in the world, many evils that has come out of the churches, specifically like the white Jesus picture and stuff like that. And you guys know, for those that's in the movement, that's a hot topic. And so there's the argument always about, you know, Christ being black, right? And so the argument, I tell you guys this all the time, the argument about Jesus skin color, black, white, whatever, it's all pointless. It's foolish. You know, people are arguing about seeds. None of you seen them. The ones who got white pictures on their wall, they never seen Christ a day in their life. They only got that image because it was given to them. Had nobody ever written, drew it, sold it, forced it, put it in commercials, called it Christ. If nobody ever did that. None of these people have this stupid white image. It's not Jesus Christ. It's an idol. It's falsehood. On the opposite end, those who have the black one, they believe that, hey, Christ is black. They believe the Jews are black. And so therefore, if the Jews are black, Christ is black. And so he really black. And so you people that's got the white pictures, y'all liars, you're the devil, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's be from a natural standpoint. All right, if that's the case, right? We don't know the shade. The truth is, we don't know the shade. Whether we lean toward him possibly being a man of color or what we'll call black today, even though that's not necessarily how people categorize skin colors around the world. But in a Western American mindset, what we would call black or white. Even if you believe that he was more of a man of color, you never seen him a day in your life. You don't know how light, how dark. You have no clue. The people that got pictures are all a bunch of clueless folks who never seen him. The ones who seen him, who walked around with him during his day, namely the apostles, never took the time to draw him out, take a photo. Of course, somebody looked, they had cameras, man. They had artists. People have been carving in wood and all this stuff, the other images of their gods. The apostles never thought to do that with Christ. So it didn't matter if they didn't have statues. I mean, if they didn't have video cameras or photo cameras. There's doggone statues of idols that's existed. People still digging them up in the dirt. So if they wanted to leave behind an image, they could have had, but they didn't. They didn't take the time to carve into a tree, carve into stone, melt rocks. They stayed away from that. The people who start drawing stuff is people who have never seen them. Christ literally told us, you know, blessed are those that believe on him, having not literally seen him. People today argue about what he looked like. And this group over here can't serve God if he white. This group can't serve God if he black, or serve Christ if he black, serve Christ if he white. If my God don't look like me, I can't worship him. All this stupid stuff. But let's just say in a natural sense, let's say he was black as night. Let's say he was black as night. All the white images are false. Even still, even then, if he was black as night, arguing, pushing that Jesus Christ is black in this scenario, right? Even if you had archaeological proof, even if you had a picture and hanging up in a wall, maybe Mary carved him out somewhere, maybe drew a picture or something after he died as a memorial to him or something. Let's say she had some picture on the wall of her son. And then we had this archaeological proof that he black. Man, at the end of the day, I mean, I guess, yay. What am I supposed to do for us? I don't know. But if that's what we find out, arguing that is still pointless and don't belong among the church for the simple reason of this. For this simple reason that, let me put it on the screen right quick. First, let me get this out of my way. I'm not taking phone calls right now. We went over this earlier in the week that in regards to the resurrection and the bodies that we shall inherit, they look nothing like the bodies you're walking around in right now. If you ever wondered why the disciples of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene and the other women couldn't identify Jesus Christ on the spot, as soon as they seen him after he resurrected, they thought he was a gardener. They couldn't even recognize him. He had to say, I'm he. The reason why Christ had to say, I'm he, and they couldn't recognize him, even though they just seen him 3 days ago. The reason why they couldn't identify him is because though Christ was dead and was buried and resurrected, the state in which he was in, meaning that incorruptible spiritual body that he arose in, that incorruptible flesh, looked nothing outside of the holes. It looked nothing like the body did when he first died and was buried. Okay? Nothing like it. If he was white, woolly haired, black man with a big nose, and they just saw him 3 days ago, you tell me in 3 days, clearly they still knew what he looked past tense, looked like. They knew where he was buried, and they were going there to put the oils on him. So they was going to remove the sheet he was buried in, that he was wrapped in. They was going to remove it to put the oil on him, and to rub his flesh down and stuff like that. That was their intentions when they went there with the spices. Excuse me. Yet when they got there and it was told he was risen, and it said Christ appeared before the women, they was going there to rub him down. They just seen him 3 days ago. They knew what he looked like. But then it says Christ appeared before the woman, or Christ was standing off to the right. She looked over right at him and thought he was just a random gardener guy that was there tending the little area. You mean she looked at this guy and couldn't tell that was Jesus? Though she was coming to wipe him down, just saw him 3 days ago, that even after having a conversation with him, excuse me, sir, Christ has to announce who he is. Then she was like, oh, my Lord, my master. Like, come on, man. You are forced to do two things. You either to count this story as a complete fabric, made up fairy tale, that this woman looking right at Christ and goes, excuse me, sir, thinking he's a gardener when she just seen him 3 days ago, and she's coming to rub him down, so she clearly know what body to go to, what tomb to go to. She knows all these identifiers, yet she looks at him and says, excuse me, sir, thinking it's a gardener. And she didn't look at him and go, Christ, oh my God, you're alive. She didn't do that. Like, come on, man. You're either forced to say, this is completely made up, or the state in which he was in was not the state he was in. And they couldn't identify him in his new state until he revealed himself. Why is that important? Because the resurrection is the literal manifestation of the sign that God has had men dealing with since the garden, which is what? Not just tilling the land, but planting seeds, planting things in the ground. From the very garden, before men sinned, the purpose of them was to go in the garden, till the land, all the stuff grew up, and the seed-bearing trees and all that stuff. What do you think they're supposed to do with them seed-bearing fruits? But sow more of it. From the very beginning, the first job, the oldest job on the planet Earth, is agricultural farming. Why does the Lord do that? He wants men to work the ground from the very beginning. Why? Because from the very beginning, God's plan was to make men in his image to be like him, which was not only upright, but also immortal. But he made mortal bodies. So that meant that body had to change. And God always planned for it to change. But as the apostle said, the spiritual body was not first, the natural body. So in order for the natural body to go away, so we may inherit spiritual bodies, death has to occur. This is why God put them in the garden, made them till the ground. The serpent was there, deceived the woman. She eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He eats of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They sin against God's commandment. Therefore, God brings about death so that man body be cursed back to the ground so he could then inherit immortality by faith in Christ that he was sending later on. For Adam was the figure of him that was to come. So now that we know the reason why the oldest thing, the first job that God put man to was to till the earth and sow into it, it's because that's what God's plan was all along. But God has also hidden the mystery of the resurrection in farming, in agriculture. That's why the apostle said this. When he explained about the resurrection, he said in verse 35, he said, but some men will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Oh, it's the same one they got right now. You see how your mama look right now? In the resurrection, she look just like that. That's not what he said. The question is what body do they come? If the body's changed, their appearance has changed. He says, thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickening, meaning changed, except it dies. And that which thou sowest, meaning what you put in the ground, thou sowest not the body that shall be. Meaning when a man dies and you're at the funeral and you take the body and you put it in the ground and you cover it with the dirt. And the day of the resurrection, your granddaddy, your mama, whoever, your cousin, your brother, or you, that state in which he was in, that body he was in, is not the body he's going to have on the day of harvest. It's going to be a new body, a changed body, a spiritual body that we currently right now don't know how we will look, as the apostle said. But we do know this, that when he appears, meaning Christ, we shall be as he is. So it's a mystery. Why is it a mystery? It's a mystery just like the natural seeds. Go to the store right now. Go to Walmart. The Lord has hidden the resurrection in these things that he's planning to do. The Bible testifies about these things in a clear manner because you wouldn't understand the fullness of this by just staring at the outside world and planting and farming. You're not going to come to that revelation by that alone. But the Lord has hidden wisdom in those things. Go to Walmart, buy any seed you want. Come back to the house, smash it with a hammer. See what's inside. It's going to be this dirt. Look at, matter of fact, let me get an image of one. Let's see. Let's look right now. Let's see. What does a seed look like inside? It said every seed has a protective coat. Some stored food in a seed. Amazing. And an embryo that is the beginning of a new plant. Let's see what it looks like though. Here's an example. Here's an example. It don't matter what seed you get, no matter what plant, what you're looking like, what the seed looks like outwardly, like this, it's not what it's going to look like in the end. Even if you was to smash it, it is not what it shall look like. In order for it to become what it was planned and designed to be, it gotta die first. When people ask, why does evil exist? Why God didn't stop evil from happening? If God didn't allow evil, you wouldn't be changing to immortal. Death was necessary. Evil was necessary. Sin was necessary. Yes, evil, but it was necessary. How else would you die? How else would you change from natural to spiritual body? This is the wisdom and plan of God. You shouldn't question it. This seed, every last seed upon the planet, was always to be something that it didn't currently look like in its first state. And the only way to bring about its end state is for the first state to die. Now you know why God didn't jump in the midst of the serpent deceiving the woman in the garden. Why God didn't stop it? Had he stopped it, you couldn't be changed. You'd be stuck in a seed. That's why God took the cherub and blocked the way of the tree of life. Lest after you sinned, you stay in this state forever. Just as it's written. Let's block the way to the tree of life. Lest men reach out and grab and eat that and live forever. Live how forever? I thought immortality was good. Not in the first state. Not in a fleshly, earthly state. Not in a corrupt state. So God blocked the way to the tree of life. Lets you stay as a seed forever. And his word would then return back void. Because he said, let us make man after our image to be like us, meaning immortal. So God is showing in planting that the first state of a thing, meaning the seed, is not what it shall be. So to argue about this, to argue about this seed, to argue about, well, this one's preeminent, this one's better, this looked like God, the God looked like this, Christ looked like this. It's foolish. The body Christ walked in when he was born through the womb of Mary was but a seed. It was not the end result. Christ showed you there was an end result at the transfiguration. And it looked nothing like he currently looked when he closed himself back up. So for men to argue about seed and skin tones of this earth, the fleshly body, they're ignorant of God. They're ignorant of Christ. They think they're wise, but they're ignorant. And so this guy that I was talking to, this thing been bothering my soul ever since I finished talking to him. Because he's arguing about Christ and then black this and black that. And then he decides to go to the prophets. And to try to prove his point, he went to another passage as well, but he ended up going to Ezekiel. And that's what we're going to focus our attention on today. And this is why I titled the class the way I did about the blindness of some of these black people. It's frightening, bro. It is frightening to me. I've been literally bothered in soul ever since I talked to this brother. One pastor made a statement that it's not a sin to believe that Jesus is black. You know, if you got some historical whatever, right? It's not a sin. It's not evil. It's not wicked. It's not corrupt to believe Christ is black, even though you never seen him. You ain't got no proof from the apostles, but it's just based off your research and what you believe. It's not evil to believe that Christ is black, but it's not a biblical argument. And so when you go to the Bible and to make this case, then, now you're distorting things and now it's evil, blah, blah. And I'm listening to this and I'm just like, this is double talk. This don't make no sense. Because if Christ was black, especially in light of the false white ones that's out there in the world, if it's not evil or a sin to believe that he's black, I need you to understand when people talk, guys, I need y'all to understand what you're saying. If you tell someone it's not a sin, that means it's not wicked. That means it's not corrupt. That means it's light. It is good. It is pure. That's what that means. So if it is right and pure and just and not wicked, not sinful, not corrupted knowledge, not anything from any corrupted source of the evil one, to believe that Christ is black, then how you then expect the people who are preaching the scriptures to not bring that information in, while they're preaching from the Bible, since they're talking about Christ, in whom is supposedly not a sin to believe that he's black. So when they're preaching the Bible and they say, now he black, why are you upset now? Why you then don't want that to keep coming up? Everything else that's true about Christ, we talk about it all the time. So if it's truly black and not a sin to believe it, then why is it evil for people to bring it up when they're preaching about Christ? It doesn't make sense to say it's not a sin to believe it, but it's not a biblical argument. Therefore, when you preach in the Bible, you preach about Jesus Christ and the gospel, you can't go about talking about he black. Like, that don't make sense. So I wanted to make clear, brothers and sisters, to all of you, your thought about whether or not Jesus is literally black or was black, that's the point I'm getting to now, that he was black, is your own opinion and assumption, because you have not seen him, you haven't seen any image of him, the apostles didn't carve anything, and they didn't leave any description. So it's just your own opinion about the matter. Even if you feel that way in your heart, even if you was to find, well, look, all these other people is black and he from that same nation, so he black, it's still your assumption, because as we can see, if you open your doggone eyes, the nations of the world, all of them have mixed. All of them. Even Israel from the very beginning mixed. From the very beginning. And they don't all look the same. Not in skin tone, not in features. Between slavery, immigration, and all that stuff, these people are mixed up. Now, these guys talking about, they always want to read the Bible and talk about the reason for that. I can explain that, because the scripture says Israel is a speckled bird. And so they take that as, a speckled bird means different colors. And so Israel's different colors. Yet Christ is always just black. He can't be white. If it's a speckled bird, it's white in the speckled bird. Even though that passage ain't talking about them being different skin tones. That ain't what that passage is talking about. But for the ones that use it like that, well, if they're a speckled bird, then you have no problem then with the idea that Christ might be white. But no, he's speckled bird, but he black. Okay. So, but even if he was, that's just the seed. That's the point I'm trying to get to you guys. Even if he was, it's but the seed. What is he now? So smart. What is he now? they'll be like, oh, I can explain you what he is now. Let me run to that Daniel right fast, bro. Let me run to that Ezekiel right quick, bro. And we're going to look at Ezekiel. This is where he went to. At the root of this is human pride, supremacy. That's what's at the root of all of this. The so-called love of God, love of Christ, is all it comes with it after you've awoken to a nationality. Once you find your Israelite, then you're super concerned about Christ. Then all of it, well, you ain't really concerned when you're lying on him. But still, this idea like you're really concerned about Christ and the truth about him and God, and now you're concerned about his laws. That is only an attachment to the so-called identity crisis that you're in. And at the end of the day, after you've done all the research, all the DNA pricking and all this, books upon books, rabbit hole after rabbit hole, at the end of the day, once you've done solidified your conscience and feel great to believe you're an Israelite, you still haven't found the people of God. Still haven't found them. All that work just to be qualified to stand in the group with the Pharisees and scribes that said, we have Abraham as our father, but Christ said, if Abraham was your father. All that research has put you in that group. You're the children of the flesh, but not really the children of God. All that work, all them arguments, all them debates, all them panels. Black. You know, you keep arguing about seeds. What Christ look like now? I'm talking about in appearance. We know his character is the same, but he never changes. What's his appearance like now? Well, we know that changed after he rose from the dead. It changed so much, the apostle who saw him said, we don't know what we should look like. All I know is when he appeared, we should be as him. Well, you saw him after he rose, didn't you? Didn't you say, like one born out of season, he also appeared to me? Didn't he appear to you after he rose? Yet the one who saw Christ after he rose, or when Christ appeared to him after he rose, he said, we don't know what we should be like. But you people never seen Christ. You ain't seen Christ in glory. You ain't seen Christ in nature, natural speaking. Yet these are your arguments. And so this brother goes to Ezekiel. Ezekiel's vision. And the point that he was trying to prove, well, he tried to point to the angels first and say, well, the Ezekiel vision, look how it's describing the angels. And I'm going to quickly just kind of go over what he said, because I want to go over what Ezekiel was really saying. And so this brother says, start at verse 4. All right, so I started reading. As I looked, I saw a great storm coming from the north, driving before it a huge cloud that flashed with lightning and shone with brilliant light. There was a fire inside the cloud, and in the middle of the fire glowed something like gleaming amber. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings. Let me make sure I'm in the King James Version. And out of the midst thereof was the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst of thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. He's like, this is angels, right? Like, yes, 4 living beings or creatures. He says, and this was their appearance. He's like, this is what they look like, right? So, all right, okay. So they had the likeness of a man. Okay. In the vision, they had a likeness of a man. And everyone had 4 faces. That's definitely not the appearance of a man, but okay. And everyone had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet. You know, he ain't focusing on all this outside of the fact that it said they had the appearance of a man. So he's like, okay, this is describing how they look. Like, they got the appearance of a man, 2 eyes, a face, you know, which they don't have 2 eyes, by the way. We keep reading. But anyway, so 2 eyes, 2 hands, you know, 10 toes. Yeah. So he's doing all that with me, right? So then he says, verse 7 said, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. He's like, what color is burnished brass, man? Look in the Hebrew and the Greek and blah, blah, blah. So I pull up this picture. Polished brass or burnished brass. Burnished brass means another way of saying polished brass. So you see that he said, go to that first image. So I click on it. And so from this, and Ezekiel saying their feet were like the burnished brass or sparkled like burnished brass, he then derived from this, not only are the angels black, but God's black and Christ is black. And he says, we are like this blackened brass, like this right here. And I was like, oh boy. Like, it was just annoying to even suffer through this. But I had to suffer through it, right? So, but that wasn't all. So he points out this burnished brass, trying to say they're black, trying to say in the next life, because Luke 20, Christ said, you should be as the angels. So I'm like, man, I said, and I was like, okay, what does it mean when the scripture said you should be like the angels in Luke 20? What are you saying? Like, what do you think that's saying? He's like, let me show you. Let me go to Ezekiel chapter 1 right quick. And I'm like, bro, hold on. He's telling you should be like the angels in Luke 20. You don't think he tells you what that means in Luke 20? Let me go to Ezekiel 1 right quick. I'm just like, man, I already know the game. I used to be in it, bro. So Luke 20. Luke chapter 20. And the section of scripture that he was talking about. Oh, boy. In verse 34, or 35, I'll get to the point. But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain the world, and verse 34. Excuse me. Give me a quick second. In verse, I know he mentioned 34. I'll make sure I wasn't reading a different translation because of the way it read earlier. Either way, in Luke 20, I'm going to start at verse 34. And Jesus answered and said unto them, the children of this world marry and are given into marriage. But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world, meaning the next world to come, and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. Neither can they die anymore, for they are equal unto the angels, or like the angels. All right. And he's like, what do it mean to be like the angels? And then that's when he went to Ezekiel with the whole polished brass and all this other stuff. And it was like, oh my goodness. And even after going back to Luke 20 to explain this to his brother, his hard head and puffed up so-called knowledge, because it ain't like his knowledge is correct, still can't see. And I'm like, man, this brother, and he proclaims to believe on Christ. He proclaims to be enlightened. So the truth of the matter, Luke 20, before we go back to Ezekiel 1, just as Christ just said, if anybody come and try to tell y'all that in the next, we know how we're going to look in the next life, because that's what his brother was arguing. We know how we're going to look. We know what color we're going to look, because the angels are black, Christ is black, God is black, and God made us in his image, didn't he? That's what he said. Oh my goodness, man. The truth of the matter is that Christ said you'll be like the angels in this regard. In other regards, you would not be like the angels. The angels are ministering spirits sent to aid those who have eternal life. You're their judges. You're not like the angels in that. You have authority over angels if you're in Christ. You have authority over them because you belong to Christ. Christ didn't take on angelic nature. He took on human nature. All Christ is saying here is that in the next world, you'll be like the angels in the regards that they do not marry and they don't procreate. All right? So anybody that think the sons of God in Genesis were some angels having sex with humans and birthing giants into the world, you're foolish. Christ said angels don't procreate. And in the next world, you'll be like angels in that regard. They did not sleep with humans and have angel babies. All right? They didn't sleep with humans and have angel babies. All right? So Christ is saying in respect to the angels, they're not given to marriage. So there's no husband and wife angels in the heavens. All right? And they don't procreate. They don't have babies. God didn't give them seed in their loins. And since they don't procreate, they don't have sex. Okay? They don't have sex. Angels don't have sex. They don't procreate. They don't have sex. All right, so for you spooked out Christians in the world who think you're having sex with angels and all this, stop it. Angels don't have sex. You have sex because you procreate, but they don't procreate. And they don't have sex with you. What they do is influence your heart to have corrupted means of sex with other humans and beasts. So going back to Ezekiel, why in the world it bothers me so bad? Outside of the fact, I mean, we hear lies all the time. Why is this bothering my soul so much? This ain't the first time I've heard this. Why is it bothering me so much? Look at what he did regarding the angels and relegated what Ezekiel is seeing to them being black. No focus on nothing else and what it means. It's just polished brass, burnished brass, black. Even though burnished brass or polished brass is like yellow, it's glowing metal. But to them, it's closer to brown. But look at what Ezekiel says. And when you realize what Ezekiel's describing, brothers and sisters, as I walk through this with y'all, this should actually make you afraid, just like it made Ezekiel afraid when he saw it. Ain't nothing scary about black people. Seeing something black, that ain't nothing scary. But look at what he really saw. And remember, before I start reading, brothers and sisters, what he's seeing is all these different images and symbols that represent something else. It's not what he's literally, what really is not what he's seeing in this vision. And the Lord's done this multitudes of times through dreaming visions, whether it's through Joseph, showing that his mother, brother, and his father, mother, and brothers would bow down to him. He didn't show them humans. He showed them stars, moons, and the sun, which symbolized his family. So in this vision, though he's seeing the moon and the sun and the stars bound before him, in the image, he sees the heavens bent over. But what it represented, what it meant, was not what it looked like in the vision. Instead, it was literal humans, his father, mother, and brothers, bowing before him. And many, many other examples of all these symbols. The same thing here. But look at what he describes. And because what he's seeing is not what it really gonna be, he then uses elements of the earth, of the created world, of the natural created world, to try to describe this outer world thing. That's why he says, it's like. That's why he keeps saying that. Because it's not, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's like. That's what I can use to try to compare what I was seeing. When he saw Christ, he says, his eyes is a flame of fire. You think Christ was some big glowing flame? That's what you thought his eyeballs was a literal fire? Sword come out of his mouth. You thought big long swords would come out of his throat? You thought it was some magician on stage doing something? Holding 7 stars in his hands? How big were these hands? How small were these stars? Yet, in the vision, what he was really seeing was enough to make him pale face and make him drop to the ground as one dead. So what the reality is more than what the vision could show. The Lord did that when he showed that, hey, call no man unclean, who I've made clean. How you do that? He didn't show a bunch of humans. He showed animals on the sheet, 4 corners of the world. The vision, you seen things, but what it really was, or what it represented, was not what you were seeing in the vision. All right? But this guy sees they sparkled like burnished brass. And so he imagined black guys, like black angels. That's what he's explaining. Have any of y'all seen a black angel? Huh? They're always around. Every time the saints gather together, the angels in the midst, as the scripture said. You seen a black angel yet? But this is the foolish, dark minds. These men is laden with sins because they're under the law. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, that whole wine, baby. Yeah. You know when black people drink wine, the white part of their eyes turn red. Yeah, that ain't no flame of fire, bro. If that's all that happened, you don't think Ezekiel or John knew what, like, white part of your eyes turning red because you drunk wine? Like, you gonna use that? Genesis said his eyes shall be red with wine, bro. This is crazy. Tipsy Jesus. That's what that was. Tipsy Jesus. Not drunk, but tipsy. His eyes are red because he drunk wine so much. This is crazy. But look at what Ezekiel actually describes, bro. This is actually frightening, man. All right. So we're going to start Ezekiel chapter 1. And I'm going to read the NLT because I'm dealing with, they just don't care. We're going to read the KJV. All right. It's just going to read the KJV. They all say the same, just read differently. But the people I'm talking to, sometimes it just, Lord, please have mercy on their souls and draw them out of this darkness. But listen very carefully, brothers and sisters, as we walk through and talk about what Ezekiel's seen in this vision. All right, so it says, now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month. You know what? Let me say this before I continue to read. I know why this bothers me so much. It's because a lot of times, and I can see why Jeremiah felt the way he felt and why he said what he said, and then the Lord had to rebuke him and remind him of his calling and things like that. It's because many times, while defending the truth of the Lord, you are going to look like an utter fool. You're going to be made to look like an utter fool. You know, think about the apostles who preached in the name of Christ. They done no evil to nobody. Yet they're beaten in public, ridiculed, counted as heretics, thrown in prison. But nobody gonna say because those things happened to them and they were made to look like fools, that then meant they were actually fools. Why does the Lord, if the truth is being preached, if the gospel is being preached to people, why would the Lord, in a time where the gospel is being preached, permit the messengers of it to be made to look like fools in the eyes of people they're preaching to? Why not just, like miracles and wonders and just keep doing that over and over and over again to convince these folks? Why does the Lord allow, while the message of truth is being spoken, allow his messengers to be made look like fools, embarrass them? They're preaching the word of truth, and the Lord allows them to be beat. Yes, suffering, but in that suffering, they're made to look like fools. Think about when the apostle said, many people during their day were saying, man, Where's the promise of his coming? Everything's continuing as normal. So imagine preaching the good news about Christ, preach about the resurrection of the dead, of the coming kingdom, and the world continue as normal while you're preaching that. And now you got people chattering in the back going, man, where's this promise about his coming? Everything continues as normal since the beginning of the world. And you keep on preaching about this future and this resurrection. Like, in the eyes of majority of people, you're going to look like fools. And so by sitting there, I had already explained to him and his other brothers and sisters, arguing about the seed, the body, the outward flesh, arguing about what Christ looked like, in his body, or whatever the case is. It's foolish and doesn't belong among the church. Clearly, as we can see throughout the centuries, right? It don't belong. It just causes division. But it doesn't belong because you're arguing about seeds. But we preach about the resurrected Christ. And because of the resurrection, whatever he was, he ain't now. Whatever he was, he ain't now. He so much ain't that now that the apostle said, though we will be like Christ, we yet don't know what we should look like. We don't know what we should be. We know we can be upright and perfect and holy and all that other stuff, character-wise, but physically speaking, how we look, we don't know. And the ones telling y'all this is the people who've seen the resurrected Christ. The world's going to be as normal. People be given to marriage on the day of the Lord. The dead in Christ are going to rise up first from the ground. And then the ones who are walking around that are alive shall be changed. If you're going to be the same, it's not a change. If you're going to look the same, it's not a change. God has testified this in agriculture and planting itself. Give me any seed that when you plant it in the ground, what comes from that looks like it was when you was holding it in your hand. When you can produce that, then you're telling the truth. But the Lord has testified in every farm, in every agriculture, what is planted is not that which it shall be. And the thing that sprouts from the ground is not what you held in your hand. It was but a seed or a piece of grain beforehand. But when you plant it, it sprouts into something totally different and much bigger. And so it's bothers me because after explaining this to them, then this brother comes with this foolishness and you got to suffer it. And it's like, you know how some people understand it can be so bad it feel like it drug your IQ down? Like, that's how it feels. And you already don't want to be really dealing with it. So it's just annoying. That's why it bothered me so much. And the blindness of this and how he took the words of the prophet in this vision and degraded it to a focus on they black. It's just so corrupt. So corrupt, man. But what did Ezekiel really see? What is he describing? Look at it. Let's take our time. Not worry about some skin tone. We ain't trying to find blackness. We just need to understand what Ezekiel's talking about. During this time when God gives him this vision, in a world where all the Jews know they black, God visits Ezekiel, and shows him this. Where it says, now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of the king Jehoiakim's captivity, the word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chebar. And the hand of the Lord was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind or a storm came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. He says a whirlwind, a storm, chaos, turmoil, destruction. Whirlwind, tornadoes don't build up. They tear up everything in their path. Here's a whirlwind, came out of the north, calamity from the north. a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. So this is like a fire-nado. All right, if you want to, with the whirlwind, using the image of a tornado, and though the image is a tornado, it's about its attributes and the characteristics, what it means, not what you're literally seeing. So so it being a whirlwind or a tornado, we don't need to argue about, was the clouds white? Was it black? Was it yellow? We don't need to argue about that. The image is a tornado, and we know it don't bring nothing but destruction. And its direction that it's coming from is the north. So calamity and destruction coming from the north. A great cloud. We know when it's a great storm, great cloud, all this lightning, all stuff, you know it's a pretty bad thing that's about to hit y'all land. All right. This ain't no little shower that's about to happen. All right. Then he says, a fire enfolding on itself. So not only was it a whirlwind, that wind alone, tornado-wise, brings up destruction, but it's a fire unfolding on itself as it's turning. And a brightness was about it. All this light about it, right? And it says, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber. So there was this colorful light flashing forth from this turmoil cloud that he's watching in this vision. And it says, also out of the midst thereof, meaning out of this tornado, out of this whirlwind, that's a fiery turning thing, and this great light coming out of it. It says, also out of the midst thereof, meaning out of it stepped the likeness of 4 living creatures. So out of this cloud from the north, out of this whirlwind from the north, came these 4 living beings. The likeness of it. It says, and this was their appearance. This is what they looked like in the vision. It said they had the likeness of a man. They said he was a man, but it said they had the likeness of a man. All right. They had the likeness of a man. So the likeness of a man, it's going to tell you how they physically look, so you know it's not describing one face, 2 eyes, nose, mouth, 2 hands. It's not describing this. This is what a man literally looks like. But when it says those 4 living creatures had the appearance of a man, this is going into that intellect, reason, foresight, all right, planning. This is what it's talking about. The attributes of a man, that the likeness of a man. They didn't have 2 hands. They didn't have 2 eyes. They didn't have 1 face, and they didn't have, 1 mouth and, 2 feet. And that's not what's about to describe. Look at what they look like. It said this is their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. So parts of them in appearance look like a human, but this is not a regular human. But instead it said this. So they had reason, they had intellect, they had the ability to have foresight, to listen and do instructions. And parts of their appearance had the appearance of a man, of a human being. Then it says, and every one of those creatures had 4 faces. Humans don't got 4 faces. Okay? So though they had the appearance of a man, it said they have 4 faces. All right. So in the vision, these living creatures has 4 faces, but these faces are attributes. They mean something. All right. They symbolize something. So it says they have 4 faces. It'll tell you what the faces was later on. And every one of them had 4 wings. So each living creature had 4 faces on them. Each one got 4 faces, and each got 4 wings. All right. The 4 faces, it's going to explain the faces later on, what these faces were animals or whatever. And now you got to look at the attributes of those animals. Why those particular animals? All right. Was their appearance. Not only that, it said they have 4 wings. What does the wing symbolize? Why 4 of them? Out of this great storm from the north comes these living creatures. They got an appearance of a man, but he got 4 faces and 4 wings on their bodies. We get further into this as we continue to read. He said, and 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings, and their feet were straight feet. Physically speaking, image-wise, meant they had straight feet that don't bend. So when they walk, how do they walk? Are we imagining like them wooden toys, the little wood toys that people like on them little old cartoons? Since they got straight feet that don't bend. Some translations said straight legs. Their legs and their feet are straight, meaning they don't bend. So the thing that these four creatures move around, how they walk, straight. There's no bend to them. What does this mean? That's what we're looking at, but what does it symbolize? That the very, I'm gonna say tools, because the members of the body is a tool. The very tools that guide their path is straight and not bent. So let's walk back. We're gonna stack this whole thing on each other. There's a whirlwind, calamity, coming out of the north. A great cloud, a fire enfolding on itself. It's going to destroy everything in its path. And a brightness was all about it, flashing lights. And out of it was as the color of amber. And out of the midst of the fire that was unfolding on itself in the midst of this whirlwind. Then it says, and out of it stepped these four creatures. So these four being things come out of it in this vision. This is a crazy vision, man. They step out of it. And he looks at it, he's like, it has the appearance of a man. But they got four faces, four different faces on it. And each got four wings. And so, and their feet, how they walk around. It said their feet were straight. They don't bend. So it was like walking like this. Not bending feet, because you got to bend to walk. But naturally speaking. But it said their feet in this vision were straight, not bent. And it said, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. Why a calf's foot? What's the attributes of calf's foot? What's the natural characteristics of a calf's foot? And then in the Jewish sense, all right, what is the significance of a calf's foot? All right, for somebody that lived under the law, for example. All right, so not only they got appearance of a man, they got, intellect, reason, able to have foresight, they communicate, and then parts of their body got human-like appearances, but they got four faces, and they're gonna get into what the four faces was. But they got four faces, and then four wings. What are the wings for? Wings are given to birds. This is how they move about. This is how you fly. All right. And they got four wings. All right. This represents the four corners of the world. All right. Just like the four ends of the sheet represent the four corners of the earth, the four wings represent these angelic force, these angelic beings that step out of this cloud, and the wings, the four winds of the earth. This is how swiftly they move through the air. This is why we talk about the spirits and talk about the prince of the air and stuff. This is how quick they move about throughout the four corners of the world, like eagle with wings. And so then it said, and their feet, or legs and feet, were straight. They don't bend. This is going into the holiness of these angels and how they walk. These are holy angels that he's seen in this vision. Not the bent angels, but the straight angels. All right. It says their feet were the straight feet. And the sole of their feet, so you got straight feet, and the sole of it was like a calf's foot. So it's like it got the little part thing that's going on right there. All right. So not only do you got a non-bending foot, but the sole of it, whereas in the natural sense, the sole of our feet, where that lighter skin at that you walk on that touch the ground, they got straight feet, and the bottom of it's like a calf's foot. Why a calf's foot? It's rigid, it's hard. But not only that, in the Jewish sense, especially in the law, this was the sign of how they denoted what was a clean beast to eat. When we talk about the so-called dietary laws, all right, the thing put in place by the Lord to teach them the difference between clean and unclean. And one of the main things was about splitting the hoofs. All right, so you got split hoofs, and then you got straight feet that don't bend. So it's like this if they were to walk in this vision, but what does that symbolize? Having no bentness to their way in which the way they move, the way that they live, the way that they walk. So this is talking about holy angels. So out of this cloud steps holy angels, got appearance of a man, but they got 4 faces. And for anybody just coming in, we're going to talk about what the 4 faces is in a second as it describes it. But 4 faces, they got 4 wings on each of the angels. Because wings is how you move about. If you're a bird, you're flying, it's very swift. Because they got wings, they move swifter than humans who only have feet, okay? And so they're going pew, 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 pew. All right, 4 wings. But then it says their feet were straight feet, not bent. Talk about the way that they walk. When they're walking upon the earth. Holy, these are holy angels. And it's in the bottom of their foot was split like a calf foot. Hard and rigid. When you're talking about straight holy angels, there's no evil in these angels. All right. They're straight. Like the scripture says, who can straighten out what the Lord has bent? Right? And who could bend what the Lord has straight? No one. So we're talking about the holy angels that are bent and not bent in terms of like their foot. But when I mean bent in the sense of their will and all that kind of stuff to the Lord, meaning submission. So these angels, as far as how they walk, their feet, the path that they walk, is a hard, rigid, straight, unbent, uncorrupt, holy way. These are the holy angels. Then he says, the bottom of their feet, it said, they sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. So, and this is talking about the brilliance of glory, because burnished bronze is a highly reflective metal. All right, it's bright. You shine a light, that thing bounce off on, and get it all in your eyes. All right. So burnished or polished bronze, like the image I had, I think I still got it up. If not, yeah. All right, here's one. All right, let me go back to polished brass. Here's an example of polished brass. Or like Revelations talked about when it described Christ, it said his feet was like burnished brass or brass as if it burned in a furnace. All right. Bright light. All right. Polished brass, sparkling. The sparkle of a burnished bronze. All right. So not just polished brass, but the emphasis is the sparkling of their feet. And the comparison of the sparkling of their feet when they walked, the brightness, the light that came from their feet, is likened to the sparkle of polished brass. All right. So it says, and they sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. All right. Sparkled. What does sparkled mean? Shine brightly with flashes of light. Okay. So in this vision, what he's literally seeing on their feet, it is flashing reflective light that's coming off. And so while he's writing it down, what he's seeing when he writes it down, when he gets to come out of the vision and can write, when he comes out of it, he says, and their feet sparkled like the color of polished bronze. So the focus isn't about whether they black or whether they white. The focus is he was picking a metal. Why he picked that particular one? Maybe because polished brass sparkles. So he picked some brass or metal that he know of to describe or compare this reflective light that was coming from the feet of these angels. But these guys see sparkle like polished bronze. Polished bronze is brown. They black. Like, bro, stop it. Sparkle means shine brightly, flashes of light. All right. So their feet is straight, meaning how they walk. Split hoof, showing they're clean and holy. Light flashing off their feet, sparkling and stuff. All right, talking about the brilliance of their beings, of their what's the word I'm looking for? Like the character. All right. Because when you talk about the way that you walk, this is describing your character, okay? That's why the scripture says, walk in the light, etc. Talking about your character. So it's describing these holy beings, all right? So then it says, after they talk about their feet, it said, and they had the hands of a man under the wings on the four sides. So while the guy is focusing on, they look like a man. Bro, men don't got four hands. They don't got four hands. So in this vision, not only these living beings got four faces, four wings, but under the wings on their bodies, on each of their bodies, are human hands under the wings. Like under the wings, then it's like little human hands. Under the wings. Under each wing is a human hand. So each beast got four hands, four wings, four faces. All right? Coming out of this cloud of engulfing flame of calamity that comes from the north. So then he says, and it says, they had hands of a man under the wings on their four sides, and they four had their faces and their wings. So each one got four faces, four wings, four little human hands under the wings. It said their wings were joined one to another. So each living being, they stood, and each of their four wings touched each other. So you got like a wing up here, touching their wing, like going in a circle. They're all touching. Listen to the vision. The wings are touching each other. So the top two wings and the bottom two wings, and then the little tiny little hands, and each one got four faces. All right, so then he says, their wings were joined one to another and touching each other. He says, they turned not when they went, meaning when they were sent out, these living creatures, when they were sent out, it said they turned not when they went, meaning they went straight in this vision. They like walked out and never turned around. These living creatures went straight to do whatever they was sent out to do, and they went straight accomplishing whatever their purpose was without turning around. Meaning no mistakes. Meaning what they were accomplishing is the will of God. How his word don't turn back void or return to him void. Whatever he sends out for his purpose, for his word to do, it shall accomplish. And these angels were sent out of this storm, this four winds of the earth, little human hands, four faces we're about to get into right now, and they were sent out by God, because this is a vision of God, Ezekiel said. Sent out by God, and they went straight, accomplishing this purpose the Lord has sent these holy angels, never turning around. Meaning they don't turn back, meaning they don't depart from why they were sent. They carry out the mission of God. And so it says, their wings were joined to one another. They turned not, meaning turned around, when they went out. They went everyone straight forward. So they were sent out, these angels to touch each other, but they're walking, accomplishing their purpose of why they were sent out, never turning around. Then he says, as for the likeness of their faces, remember they had four faces. He said, they four had the face of a man. So there was a human being face in this vision on each of the angels, and the face of a lion. So the face of a man. What is it about the face of a man? All right. That's created in God's image, that has reason, intellect, knowledge, the ability to foresight, all these different things that I talked about above when it said they had appearance of a man. That's what this human face represents. The attributes of a human. Then it says, and the face of a lion. Why a lion? What is it about a lion? Fearless. Intimidating. Stealthy. Some big cats. What else? It said the face of a lion on the right side. So you had the human face in the middle, lion face on the right side. Then it said, and they four had the face of an ox on the left side. So you got human face here, lion face here, ox face here. What about an ox? What is it about an ox? What are ox for? These are animals you put to a rigorous work, toiling the land, pulling them sleds as you work the fields. All right. And there's other attributes of an ox that I'm not thinking of right now, but this is the two that's coming to mind. So you have the ox on the left side, the left face of an ox, or the left side of the face, which is the face of an ox. Then it says, They four had the face of an eagle. What are the attributes of an eagle? All right, because that's the fourth face, an eagle. Eagles, they're predator. I mean, they're prey. They are predators. The animals they prey upon, because the eagle soars high above their prey. All right, the animals that eagles eat are always beneath them. So there's a face of an eagle on these living creatures as they soar through the air with their wings, four winds of the earth. And as an eagle has a sharp, keen eye on its prey, it can see it from miles away. And in one swoosh, without stopping, they fold their wings, dive down, catch their prey, and take right on off. So in this vision, one of the faces of the eagle that has the sharpest eye in the animal kingdom can spot its prey from miles away, soars high above what they're looking for, and in one swoop, they fold their wings and they glide down. I forgot how fast they can get. It's a super fast speed. But they glide down the air with the free fall thing, and without stopping, they put out their hooves and grab their prey and take right on off. But he says they got a face of an eagle. All right. So you got the fearlessness of a lion on this living creature, the human face that shows intellect, wisdom, ability of foresight, planning. The ox works rigorously as it harvests the fields. Eagle soars high above and can spot it from far away. And where did they come from? They came out of that cloud, that storm that was coming from the north. So from the storm, calamity of the north, comes this plan, this reason, this foresight, this intellect of who? This is the visions of God. Right side, face of lion, fearless, intimidating, coming out of this cloud from the north. Left side, ox, work rigorously as it harvests up this earth, as Nebuchadnezzar takes over the whole planet, because that's what he's talking about. And the eagle soar high above its prey, and in one swoosh, whoosh, that's why the Lord uses the eagle and say, I'll take you out of this land swift as an eagle flyer. So he said, face of an eagle. Then he says, thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. Two wings of everyone were joined to one another, and two covered their bodies. So imagine two wings stretched upward, each one touching, some of the angelic being, and then the other two wings on the bottom folds over there, but covers up their body. All right. So you got the bottom wings kind of folding over the body like this. Remember, there's little human hands at the bottom of each wing. The wings represents the four corners of the world, and the little human hands right there. All right. Obviously representing that's the appearance of a man. It has to do with man. And our hands are used. This is how we are able to make to be able to grab and do things and write. Our hands are very important. So you got these human hands under each wing on these four living creatures with the intimidating, fearful, powerful force, which a lion is, the rigorousness of an ox, the keen eye and swiftness of an eagle, and the intellect and planning or mind like a man, like a human. This is the appearance of the living creatures that he's seeing that stepped out of the storm of calamity coming from the north. Then he says, and they went, everyone, talking about the angels, straight forward. Whither the spirit was to go, they went. So these beings, remember, they're talking about straight feet and they had wings and all that stuff. They got to move. It said they went straight forward without turning around. But it's telling you, when they go straight forward, they're following the spirit. The spirit of who? God. So when God went forward, the angels went forward, like God is leading an army. This is what they're describing. God's leading this army of angels as he moves throughout the earth. His word don't turn back void. That's why none of them turn around. Why? Because when the Lord went, the Lord didn't turn around. They follow wherever the spirit goes. But listen to what he says there. It says, they went everyone straight forward. Whither the spirit was to go, they went. And they turned not when they went. So when the spirit went forward, they followed suit. And the spirit didn't turn around. They didn't turn around. So that means the purpose of the spirit going forth will be accomplished. There'll be no turning back from this plan of God, this will of God that he's talking about in his vision. It says, where the spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance. Remember, it was like a man. This guy saying they black because polished brass. He says their appearance, these living creatures, was like burning coals of fire. I thought it was black. I thought polished bronze meant they black. Jesus black, God black. You can't be black, burned up, but your appearance is burning coals of fire. Bright light orange, yellow, radiant. Sometimes it's so hot, blue is in there. But the appearance of these angels with these faces, it said their appearance was like burning coals of fire. So if we would go, well, how they look? They would look like a big flame. Nobody gonna say a black man look like a flame. Are we really got that degenerate? But is that what Ezekiel's seeing? Is that what he's describing? Is that why he's saying their appearance was as burning coals of fire? Look at what he says. He says their appearance is like burning coals of fire and like the appearance of lamps. Now, he just described and said they had these four faces and wings and little hands under it and all this other stuff. You know, think after describing all of that, all of a sudden, their appearance is like burning coals of fire and like lamps. The appearance of lamps. So why is it that here's these faces, they got these that symbolize characteristics, how these beings only follow the spirit. And because the spirit is going forth to accomplish its purpose, the angels go for it and none of them turn back. They go throughout the earth, not turning around. And they came out of that cloud. So if the angels came out of that cloud and they only walk after the spirit of God came out of that calamity, showing that this is a plan and will of God that's about to come forth. And there's no turning back from it. It will accomplish its purpose. And the angels of God, which is the army of God, follow suit. These holy angels that got straight feet, that are clean because they split hooves, whose feet sparkle, their brilliance, sparkle like burnished bronze. But their appearance is like burning coals of fire. In the appearance of lamps, light, brilliance, and white. That's how holy these angels are. Then it says, it went up and down among the living creatures. Talking about the spirit. It said, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. So their appearance, these angelic beings' appearance was burning coals of fire, and the appearance of lamps, so bright light that was so bright, these beings were so glowing bright that it said that out of the midst of those beings was lightning flashes. All this brilliance of light, but lightning flashes, it shines bright, but you see its course when it goes like, but as quick as you see it appear, that's how quick it returned. It's describing it's describing the appearance and characteristics of these angelic beings that was sent forth by God that followed the Spirit of God to accomplish this destruction, which was symbolized by the storm coming from the north. How rigorous they are like oxes. How wise they are like man. How fearless they are like lions. And how they see from far away and swiftly fulfill the will of God like eagles. And they're so bright, so holy, so determined, and so quick. They walk straight, following the Spirit, don't ever turn back, meaning they accomplish the purpose of God. And lightning comes forth out of them. As quick as they appear, as quick as they're gone. That's how fast these angels move. That's why we ask the question, when? Since professing with your mouth Jesus Christ is Lord and believing in your heart God raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. If that's what you do outwardly, but all things begin inwardly, then that means before you professed outwardly, you already believed inwardly. At what point did the Spirit come into you? At what point did the revelation happen? Even now, when we read the scriptures, who can determine the moment God came in and gave a revelation? When a woman becomes pregnant, if God is forming the baby, at what point did God begin his work? You don't even know. You can't determine the time. As quick as you can find a sign, it's as quick as he was gone. You can't know the time. You don't know the moment life entered into your womb and God began his work in a baby. That's why most people don't find out they're pregnant till like 2 or 3 weeks into it. You don't know. When a person believed on Christ, they would just stand there hearing the message. You're looking at them, but you're still giving your presentation, and the Lord already entered into them while they're listening. And you don't know. You don't know when. You only see the after effects when they finally fall on their knees and they finally profess Christ with their mouths. Other than that, you don't know when the Lord stepped in. That's how his angels are. Pew, pew, they're gone. Like lightning flash. And it says, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Like I just finished telling you. Just in case anybody's thinking, man, you making this up, man. So let's add all this in right quick, because he's about to move on. This is turning fire, whirlwind, coming from the north, calamity. It's going to steamroll whatever's in front of it. And out of it come these 4 living beings. But we find out something about these living beings. They only follow the Spirit. So that means God came out first. Out of this calamity storm, showing it was sent by God. Because God leading his angels is as a commander leading his army. So they step out the clouds. Got an appearance of a man, but got 4 faces. Fearless and bold like a lion. Strong and hard working as an ox. Keen eye, can see from far, and swiftly get the job done as an eagle swiftly gathers his prey. Eagle head on the back. 4 wings, 4 winds of the earth. Little human hands under those wings. Straight feet that don't bend. That's how holy they are. They're clean, split hooves. The bottom of their feet sparkling like burnished bronze. But then he looks at them. The appearance like burning coals of fire. Fire is symbolized to destroy or purify. All right. It said, and the appearance of lamps shining. What does the lamp symbolize? They didn't look like literal lamps, but what does appearance of lamps symbolize? It's talking about righteousness, the light of the Lord. Then it says, burning coals of fire, destroy and purify, the righteousness, justice of God, the appearance of the lamp. Then it said, it went up and down among the living creatures. So these living creatures is flashing, light coming from everywhere, but each thing represents something. Then it says, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire that was moving up and down in the angels, the living creatures, it said, went forth lightning. But the lightning, it said, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. So he's looking at them, and from these spirit beings come these flashes of lightning. That flashes of lightning is representing how quickly they move. They ran and returned as the appearance of lightning, the swiftness of lightning. But then he says, now, as I beheld the living creatures going to and fro throughout the world, 4 winds of the earth, bold as a lion, as hard as an ox, keen eye like an eagle, intellect like a man, plan and foresight as they follow God, who came out before them, because they only go where the Spirit goes. He says, as I'm looking at them, going to and fro like flashes of lightning. He says, now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures, but there's 4 faces. So a wheel appears. Okay. We know wheels go like that, naturally speaking, but a wheel appears. It said the appearance of the wheels, because 4 wheels, 1 by each angel. the appearance of the wheels and their work, meaning how they look, was like the color of a beryl, right? Which is a stone, right? So use that rock or whatever case, that beryl, to describe the brilliance of this wheel, right? So he says, the color of a beryl. And they have four, and their four had one likeness, meaning the wheels, they look the same. It said, and their appearance and their work was as if it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. He says, when they went, they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. So not only does the angels go forward and don't turn around, but so do the wheels. And remember, the living beings are following the Spirit of God. For it said that the Spirit led them, and they follow the Spirit. So they're following the Spirit. The living beings are following the Spirit, and the wheels along with the angels. But what about these wheels? What's the point of these wheels? It said, and it turned not when they went, meaning they didn't turn around. As for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful. And the rings, there's some translation says the rims. So you got the wheels, and then you got the rim of the wheel. All right. So you got the wheel and then the rim of the wheel. So you got the wheel, but the rim of the wheel is eyeballs. Instead of a natural rim, like on a tire and they got the rim part is eyeballs. All right. So it says, as for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful. And the rings were full of eyes round about them four. So the entire circumference of the wheel was a bunch of eyeballs. Meaning as the wheels move, the eyes of the Lord are looking. He missed nothing. An intent gaze. And even though the angels going to and fro, even though the wheels are moving forward, as they're following the Spirit, there are eyes in these wheels that see everything. Omnipresent. All places at once. Misses nothing. Good and dark, light and darkness, the same to him. Then it says, they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. As for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and the rings were full of eyes about the four. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. So as the living creatures are moving about with their four wings, little human hands under it, four faces, as they walk straight with unbent feet, sparkling like polished bronze, as they're following the Spirit that leads them, their wheels with eyeballs looking at everything while they're moving. That man, that's some crazy stuff he's seeing. It's scary. These guys, just mean black angels, black Jesus. Like, no, this is worse. This is way greater. It's scary. Nothing scary about what these guys talking about. They think the world gonna be like, oh, black Jesus. No, it ain't gonna happen. So as the angels are moving throughout the world, never turning around because they're going to accomplish the work of the Lord, and they're moving as fast. They're doing and returning as fast as a flash of lightning. You know how fast that is? Like when you're riding around the road and the flash of lightning happens, like half the time you'll see the light, but the actual streak of lightning, sometimes you'll catch it, but by the time you see it, it already returned back. It moves so fast, it like leaves a decaying image print. Like when you see light and then you close your eyes, like if you stare at a light a long time, close your eyes, you still see the little kind of the image of it, but it's fading away the longer you keep your eyes closed. That's how lightning is. It moves so fast that it leaves this decaying print in the clouds. And when you see it fading, it's not, yes, it's the lightning fading, but the actual thing that brought about that lightning had all been already returned. You're just catching the after effect. So these four beings are moving so quickly and swiftly. Not only are they moving, because as they go straight forward, it said this wheel full of eyeballs is going with them. So then it says, And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go. And the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. So here's this wheel, this shining wheel that he uses the beryl to describe it, like the color of the beryl stone. And in the wheel is eyeballs, which are the rims, and then in the middle of it is the spirit of the living creatures. And when the spirit creatures go forth, the wheels that has their spirit in it and eyeballs surrounding it goes with them as they follow the spirit that goes before them. And where did it come from? That calamity, that cloud, that turning fire storm from the north. Then it said, when they rose, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And it said, and the lightness of the firmament, meaning the sky or heavens, upon the heads of the living creature was at the color of a terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. So now, above this storm, in the clouds, remember it was a cloud, great cloud, a storm that came, all right, from the heavens, because that's where the clouds dwell. The clouds dwell in the heavens. This storm, this whirlwind, which comes down from the heavens and touches the earth, the whirlwind, the tornado, comes from the heavens, touches the earth, a flaming fire tornado. And out of it comes the Spirit of God and his angels that follow him, the cherubs. And they go in and out of the world so fast, it's like a flash of lightning. But when they go and accomplish the will of God, they don't turn back. You know, the Lord's word don't turn back void. It will be carried out to its fullest extent. And God's all-seeing eyes that's everywhere at once follows them. Their spirit is in the wheel. The eyes of the Lord is encompassed at the rim of the wheel. And then the spirit of the Lord goes before the angels that follow him. Then as he's looking up with this cloud, great storm, fire, tornado, beast standing in front of him now. Then he looks up in the heavens, above the clouds, above where these angels are at. And he says, and the lightness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of a terrible crystal. So now the heavens, now he looks above the clouds, look above the angels, and there's this glowing crystal appearance of a sky stretched forth over their heads. And under the firmament were their wings straight, and one toward the other. Everyone had two, which covered on this side, and everyone had two, which covered on that side, their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings. So the heavens opened up. You see this glowing heavens like a terrible crystal. And the angels, when he sees this, the angels begin to move. And when they move, he said the wings start making noises. It said, I heard the noise of their wings like the noise of great waters. Imagine the Niagara Falls. As the voice of the Almighty, like thunder sound. The voice of speech as the noise of an host. So they hear somebody start to talk from the heavens. So as the angels are moving about, the wings begin to make noises. The noise was likened to rushing waters, the thunder roaring, the voice of God speaking. It said when they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings. Excuse me. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, meaning the throne. From the appearance of his loins, even upward, and from the appearance of his loins, even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire. So you see this human-like figure whose body is lit up like a flame of fire. Remember, fire symbolizes purifying and destruction. Where the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about, as the appearance of the bow, of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, meaning the rainbow. All right. So was the appearance of the brightness around about. That was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. So in this vision that he sees, where these men, this is black Jesus, black angels, he sees something way different, way more scary and dreadful. As he stood among the captives of the river of Chabar, the Lord allowed him to see these visions. And he sees a great storm with great clouds, fire engulfing the storm. And out of it comes the Spirit of God and these four living beings that had an appearance of a man, a face of a lion, face of an ox, face of an eagle, four wings, little human hands under it. And then he sees these wheels that appear with eyeballs all over it. And the spirit of the living beings with them that moved along when the spirits moved, who followed the Spirit of God out of the storm of calamity from the north. Then he looks up and the heavens shine. Then he sees a throne. He sees a human-like figure up there that's lit up like flames. Why is the Lord lit up like flames? This represents God's holiness, purification, and destruction from the throne of God. This represents judgment from the throne of God. And so he sees all of this and he falls as one dead. And then lastly, what does the voice say to him? And he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me when he spake unto me, and set me upon my feet. That I heard him that spake unto me. And he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. For they are impudent children and stiff-hearted. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God. And they, whether they will hear or whether they forbear, meaning if they will listen or ignore, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there have been a prophet among them. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks. Though they be a rebellious house, and thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they're the most rebellious. What was the Lord's words? But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not rebellious like that, rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat what I give thee. He says, and when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, a little floating hand, sent unto me. Lo, a roll of a book was therein, in the hands of this little floating hand that came to him. And he spread it out before me, meaning open up the scroll, meaning something's written in it. And it was written within and without, meaning on both the inside and the outside of the scroll, there was something written. And what was it? And there was written there lamentations and mourning and woe. Let me go to the NLT right quick. Then I looked and saw a hand reaching out to me. It held a scroll, which he unrolled. I saw that both sides were covered with funeral songs, words of sorrow, and pronouncements of doom. So while these brothers so lost, and they think they're so wise, and they want to run here and run there and run there and try to piece these things together, try to show God is black, Jesus black, everybody black, angels black. And that's how they're going to look in the future. Ezekiel ain't describing no black angels. He ain't describing no black God. Instead, all the images that he saw represented what was written on these scrolls that was finally handed to him. There's this great storm of calamity, this whirlwind of fire. It's going to devour everything in its path. This great cloud, as it said there in chapter 1. With flashes of lightning coming out of it and showing with brilliant light, purifying fire and calamity and destruction coming forth from it. And how is it coming? The Lord sending forth his angels as he leads them like an army. And his purpose will be accomplished, symbolized by those angels who walk straight, not bent-footed, who go straight for it, not turning around. They follow the Spirit as the Spirit leads them, meaning the Spirit doesn't turn around. Then, not only that, but they got wheels that's with them that the spirits are in, where the eyes of God is the rim of the wheel. Four wings on each beast, and it's stretched to the four winds of the earth, going straight without turning around. They're moving swift as lightning flashes, lit up like fire, purifying fire. Then the heavens open up. He sees a throne, his appearance of a man. That man is engulfed in flames, not black with woolly hair, engulfed in flames. Because it's the purifying throne and judgment seat of God. It's just like the other scripture said, when it said the rivers of fire was flowing from the throne of God. And all rivers flow to the sea. And that sea is where all those beasts, the four beasts that the other prophets spoke of, Isaiah and them talked about, came out of. But after he saw all this and heard a voice and it scared him, he fell down. What did the voice say to him? Tell Israel this, and hands him a scroll. And what's written on the inside and the outside of that scroll? Funeral songs, destruction and doom. Because they were rebellious. That's what that whole vision was about. These men degrade these things of God, these great mysteries and visions given to these prophets for the quest of fleshly supremacy. But as we walk through this carefully, you can see all these things in the vision was simply the Lord showing him, I'm leading my angels forth. I'm bringing calamity from the north. What north? Babylon. I'm sending calamity from the north. Going to steamroll these Israelites. Funeral songs, destruction and doom, because they're rebellious. My eyes see everything. I send for my angels as I lead them. My word will not turn back void, for they walk straight and never turn around. They go to and fro as flashes of lightning. If you saw them, it'd only be the after effects because they were already gone. Yet these wicked men today want to waste our time and argue about these stupid flesh identity stuff, crisis they got going on. When all the Lord was showing him was destruction and woe to these rebellious people. My word won't return back void. Everything I said about them in the scroll will happen. And it will be accomplished. For I am leading my angels against them. As I bring calamity on them from the north. That's all this was. He goes on and on. We read that some other time, some later time. So imagine sitting there knowing, bro, you explain to the brothers and sisters, stop arguing about your flesh. It's just the seed. This is not what you look like now. It's not what you should look like in the future, in the resurrection. And if someone comes along and talks about black angels, burnished bronze, they want to sound deep because they want to reference Hebrew or Greek. And the thing that Ezekiel saw was so frightening, and it spoke to the calamity that God was sending from Babylon as he leads his angels out against them. Give me a quick second. And so you're sitting there, and because this person is Hebrew, reading Greek, and everything they take so little, burns browns. What color is that? It's browns. It's black man. Doing that whole stupid thing. You're like, bro, this is so dumb. And it's like, you don't want to respond. You shouldn't respond. You should just sit there and just let them talk. And the more you do that, of course, they got their little cheering squad. So you look like a fool in their sight, right? You look like a fool in their sight. But why does the Lord allow his messengers to look like fools like that? Don't he want the people to know? Don't he want them to know the truth and all that? Why does he make his messages look like fools? Why? To seal the fate of the rebellious ones. That's why. Seal the fate of the rebellious ones who refuse to listen. So they hear the words, but the Lord don't let them hear it. Their hearts are hardened. They think they got to come back. They start talking that straight foolishness, and their little cheerleading squad cheers up with them. But they don't know the Lord is sealing their fate. How can a man who can look at the words of the prophets, say some foolish stuff like that, understand who Christ is? They have a fake Christ, a phony one. One that looks just like them. They're in these seed bodies. Their Jesus Christ is in a seed body. They're not talking about a resurrected Christ. They're talking about one that looked like them. I wanted to get on here and go over this with you, brothers and sisters, man, because, man, this thing was so vexing, but my vexation is over now that I was able to deal with this. Pray the Lord open to you guys' eyes and y'all understand the vision of Ezekiel. Man, pray the Lord have mercy. He will, to those on whom he decides. Have mercy on those who are currently under that deception. Lord's will, they will see in the future. But I'm gonna let you guys go. And so Lord's will, I'll talk to you guys later on. It's Friday, so Lord's will, Sunday at noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back here for the gathering and continue to learn about our Lord, Yeshua of Nazareth. And Lord's will, I'll talk to you, brothers and sisters then. Peace, Pastor Green. And so Lord's will, I'm gonna let you guys go. I got a couple things I need to take care of and get my body back. So, all right, love y'all, brothers and sisters. All right, Lord's will, talk to y'all soon. Peace.